Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. It's gonna be my monthly recap video, and I don't know if y'all look forward to it as much as I do, but I have a fun time making these. So today's video will be talking about all the books I got, all the books I read, and then the books I'm in the middle of, or the books that I want to read for the next month. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off by showing you guys all the books that I bought or received. I normally have a fairy loot, but this one is delayed like a whole bunch, so I don't have that unfortunately. And it is like a couple days before January ends, but also I don't think I'm going to be finishing any more books probably before the month ends, and also it's probably not going to get here till next month. So okay, I unplugged the microphone for this next bit of showing you guys just because it's easier to not have to hold it and also show you guys. So sorry if the audio is not that good. I first wanted to show you guys, oh my gosh, if I can hold it, this stack of books. Very colorful, very pretty. These are basically all of the Pretty Little Liars. Backstory on those. I'm watching the TV show right now of Pretty Little Liars, and I've heard that it has a lot of plot holes compared to the books and that they're very different from the books. So I wanted to read the books. I know they're like very old, like the references in these books are a lot older because I think it was like early 2000s when these were made. It's just something easy for me to, I've actually been listening to them, so it's been easy for me to just throw it on in the background while I'm doing other stuff, and it's really entertaining even though it's like for kids a lot younger than me, but sometimes it's just fun to have like a nice little read. I also used to have the first 4 books, but I never thought I would read them, so I gave them away. And then now it's harder to find like the OG covers. But I was looking on Facebook Marketplace and someone was selling basically the whole series besides 3 books for $25, and I was like, have to have that right now. I have them in order from what actually Sarah Shepard, who is the author, recommends. There's like found a like little post on Reddit of someone saying like, I texted or DM'd Sarah Shepard and this is how she says to read the books. So that is how I'm choosing to read them, but honestly you could probably read them anyway, really. This is mainly just chronological, except for a little bit in the middle and stuff. Okay, first book is Pretty Little Liars. Easy. Next is Flawless, then Perfect, then Unbelievable, which I'm pretty sure there's like 4 different parts, and like that's the first part, and then they go from there. Then there's this, which is a not novella, but it's extra. It's not actually like one of the main books. This one is Pretty Little Secrets. I'm pretty sure this is like 4.5. You know, like it's not a real book. Then there's Wicked, which this is a part of like the second series. Our second part, Wicked, Killer, Heartless, Wanted, and I think those are all that part. And then there's Twisted, Ruthless, Stunning, Burned, and again I think that might be those parts. I'm gonna find something to like let you know what the actual parts are. And then there's Deadly, and this is Allie's Pretty Little Lies, which technically I think this chronologically is before the first book, but Sarah Shepard recommends reading it as the last book. So there's a couple missing in between those that I actually want to show you or look up for you. Okay, yeah, I'm missing Crushed, Toxic, and Vicious, which Crushed is in between Burned and Deadly, and then Toxic and Vicious are after Deadly, before Pretty Little Secrets. Oh no, not Pretty Little Secrets, before Allie's Pretty Little Lies. Yeah, so there's 4 story arcs, which has 4 books each, plus companion novels. Yeah, so I believe the first 4 together, then the next 4, then the next 4, and then the next 4. So those are all together. And then there's Allie's Pretty Little Secrets, like goes along with like the first ones, and then our Pretty Little Lies, and then Pretty Little Secrets goes along with the second arc. I was super excited to get those, especially for such a good deal. And then I'm just gonna try to find like secondhand the other 3 books that I don't have. I'm gonna slowly be reading those over the next couple months, and I think I'll fly through them like pretty easily. Next, I ordered some books from Book Outlet, just because they were, for one, I wanted to get one book and then they were having a sale, so I kind of just like ordered a bunch. But the one book I wanted to get was Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli. I don't really know how to say her name, but I was reading The Heartless Hunter, so I wanted to get Rebel Witch because I wanted to be able to just go from one book to the next. I ended up actually finishing Rebel Witch on my Kindle before I even got it, so it's fine though. I wanted to have the physical of it. Then I also bought The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. I've been wanting to read this for a really long time, and I finally just picked it up because it was on a good sale, because normally it's like $30 and I just can't justify that. But super excited about this. If you guys don't know, this is about Sherry Frankie's mom, who they were like a famous family on YouTube. I think they're called 8 Passengers, and some dark stuff comes out about her mom. There's like a whole documentary about it. I've watched the documentary. I didn't watch them like growing up or anything like that, but I kind of like kept in touch with everything that was going on with like the trials and stuff like that. So I'm super excited to hear from Sherry's point of view. I think, yeah, she wrote this, and I think if you do the audiobook, I think it's her reading it as well. Then I got Misery by Stephen King, which I just really like this style of these covers, and I already have like Pet Sematary in this cover and I think another one, so I'm slowly just working my way through these covers, and I really want to get more into Stephen King, and my book club and I like really want to get more into Stephen King, so I was excited to get this one. I've heard this one is like a really good one to step into his books too, because it's not so like gruesome and like horror, it's like more suspense. And then I got What Happens in Paradise, which is the second book in the, is it just called the Paradise series? Yeah, it is called the Paradise series. This is the second book. I got the first book in my last haul from also the Book Outlet, because you can't really find, these are like one of the few books I don't have of Elin Hilderbrand's, and you also can't find these covers because she like came out with new covers, so I'm hoping I can get the third book in this cover because I don't like the new ones and I want them all to match. I'm gonna really be upset if I can't find it, but at least I have the first two so far. And then I got Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry. Again, I've been wanting to read this. I'm not a super big memoir person, but if it's like a very interesting one, or like one that like a character or like a person that I've watched for a long time, I want to do it. I've heard this one's good. Again, I think the audiobook is read by him, and I'm just excited to read this. Also, it's not like super big. And I know he's had some crazy experiences in his life, so I'm excited. Okay, and then the last book that I bought, well, my husband actually bought this one. He pre-ordered Half His Age by Jennette McCurdy. This one's actually signed and everything. It's funny because like he pre-ordered this like forever ago and he would not tell me. He just told me like, oh, I pre-ordered a book. And if you know my husband, he is not a reader. Like, he does like nonfiction more than anything, but he doesn't really read like that. And so I was like, okay, what book? And he would not tell me. And then finally, like a month before it was supposed to come in, he told me what it was. And then we got a little concerned because of, for one, the cover and also the title, Half His Age. So it was interesting. He was not happy about that, but it's nice to have it on our shelves. Okay, so those are all the books I got. Again, I'm still waiting for my fairy loot, so I don't know when it will come in, but hopefully soon. That seems like a lot, but it's a lot less than what I normally do, and that's just because I am trying to like actually read the books I have and not keep continuing to add to my physical TBR and not read any of the books I have. Okay, now let's move on to all the books I read, which I had a really good month of books. Okay, for the books that I read, it's a massive stack. This might be the most books I've ever read in 1 month. I'm not sure, but it looks like a lot. Let me count it real quick, actually. 14 books. I've read 14 books. That is actually crazy. I think that's a record for me. And let me just say, not normal. That doesn't normally happen. I don't normally read this many books in 1 month, but I'm definitely not mad about the amount of books I read. So we can just get started. I'm going to try to do it in order from when I read it to, you know what in order means, never mind. I think I have all of them in order. The first book I read was Collided by Lauren Asher, which this is the second book in the Dirty Air series. And I gave this a 2.5 stars. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to finish the Dirty Air series. I've read the first book and this is the second book. I was trying to get through them. I'm just not in love with the characters, and I really like the beginning of this book, and then it slowly just drags on for me, and I don't feel like I really care to finish them. I know people say I think the third book is like everyone's favorite, but I have so many other books I'd rather read. I don't want to waste my time on these books. So if you don't want to know what these are about, it's basically a 4-book series that's interconnected standalones about F1 drivers, and obviously they're all connected somewhere or the other. The first one was about Maya and Noah, Noah is a F1 driver for the same company as her brother, and she goes off and they get together. And then this one is about Sophie and Liam, which there's 2 rival companies. I can't remember what their names are, but Sophie is the daughter of one of the companies, the same company that Noah is under, and her and Maya are friends. And then Liam is under the company that is the rival for Sophie's dad's company. So don't remember the names, sorry about that, but kind of how I feel about this book in general. I don't really remember a lot that happened. I just know that Sophie and Liam were like friends beforehand, and their age difference is quite different, and everyone was against them getting together because obviously rivals. Yeah, 2.5. It's fine. Nothing crazy. It just was my favorite. Like I'm already like a little picky. I'm very picky about romance anyways. So when you give me a romance I'm just not in love with, I'm just not going to pursue it. Sorry if everyone loved them. Not for me. So then next I completed, and these ones I'm going to say at the same time because I read them in tandem, Fearless and Fearful. Ow. Did you guys see that? Fearless and Fearful by Lauren Roberts. These are part of the Powerless trilogy, but it might as well not even be a trilogy because she has 2 novellas that are interconnected with it, and you want to read those because they give a lot to the story. I chose to read these in tandem just because it made the most sense for me. I almost would recommend to someone for them not to read them in tandem. The first novella, Powerful, I would definitely recommend reading that in tandem just because otherwise your heart's going to be ripped out twice. This one, I think a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the plot twists in this part in the Fearless get kind of like revealed essentially when you read Fearful with it, just because you're getting a lot more information. Let me say what I rated these. I rated Fearless a 5-star, and I rated Fearful a 4-star. So all in all, the series is a 5-star. Loved it. Reckless I actually didn't like as much as like everyone else did, but I bet if I read them like back to back maybe I would, but I really enjoyed Fearless. So in Fearless, I can't say too much because obviously it is a series and this is the last book in the series, and she is a chunk, okay? Like, she is thick. This one has perspectives from Kai, Peyton, and Kit, and if you know what happened in the other books, you know what's happening. But this novella is basically just following Death. So it's following this girl named, what is her name? No, it's with an M. Mara. This is following Mara, who is Death, like, as a person. I don't know, it's like kind of confusing. It really like brings the mystical element into the whole world, even though there is like magic and stuff. I don't know, for some reason that confused me a lot. But Mara and Kit are main characters in this book, and so it's really interesting. I did enjoy it a lot for like a novella, but it was I definitely don't think I would have read it. I should have read it together. People say to read it in tandem, and I think I understand why. But I think to get more out of Fearless and like more like a wow factor, I would not read Fearful with it. But can't say too much about them because I don't want to give any spoilers, but I'm super excited to have this trilogy completed. It's been way too far coming. I mean, I pre-ordered Fearless, so we're just not going to talk about it, okay? I'm trying to be better. Then next, I went on to another series that I definitely should have read a long time ago, but that is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cercarelli. This is the Crimson Moth series. It's just a duology, and I had the first book, and I have had on my shelf for way too long, so I needed to get to it. People love and rave about this series. I gave this one a 4 stars, and I might as well just talk about the second book too, because I literally just read it right after. So I also read The Rebel Witch, which I gave a 4 stars as well. So all in all, the series is a 4 stars. I really did enjoy it. I just wasn't like as in love with it as I think everyone else was. Like, did I fly through the books? Yes. But I do think there's other series and other characters that I love a lot more than these people. The premise was really cool though. Basically, this is about, you're in a world where there was witches, but all the witches basically got purged and killed, and now they like used to rule, but now they don't rule anymore because the 3 like main witches got killed. Like the queens? Were they called queens? I think so. So I don't know if they're called Bloodguard or not, but they're witch hunters who are fighting for like the Republic, and the Republic is what like rules the city right now. And so you're following Rune, who's the Crimson Moth, who is a vigilante for witches, and she goes around and she saves witches from the guards and saves them from getting executed, because once they catch a witch, they basically get as much information as they can from them, and then they kill them, like very like brutally, essentially, like to find out even what the witches, if they actually are a witch, they strip them naked and they look for these casting scars, which are how the witches use magic. In this system, you have to use fresh blood to cast any spells. So the witches will cut like basically like tattoos into their bodies, but when they're used for magic, the scar becomes like silver. So that's how you can find out if someone's a witch. And also you have the perspective of Gideon, who is the love interest. It's an enemies to lovers romance, and Gideon is like the head guard of the Republic's like people. So he's like a big witch hunter, and he actually was one of the people who like killed one of the queens. So it's very interesting. It's very high stakes, I will say. Like, you're constantly on the edge of your seat and not like sure what's gonna happen. But I did find myself getting a bit annoyed because it's like high stakes, but then also like they're gonna get together in the end, but then there's a lot of like back and forth of like, oh, we can't be together, oh, we can't do this, and then they end up getting to like, what's gonna happen. I don't know. It was good though. I am glad I read it. I'm glad I can now put it on my shelf. But again, like I said, not my most favorite series I've ever read. Then next I finished The Two Towers, which is a part of the Lord of the Rings series. This technically I had completed for like a really long time, but before the holidays, but because of the holidays, my book club and I couldn't meet, and this was our book club pick of December, and we like to read the last chapter together. So that is why it's now in this video. But I gave this a 3 stars. Out of all the books, this one was my favorite. I kind of ranted about it last video, but I'm just not a huge fan of the series, like, at all, I will say. This was my favorite, but also didn't really like it. I'm not going to go into it because everyone knows what the Lord of the Rings is, and if you don't, where have you been? That's all I gotta say. The main premise is there's a ring and there's hobbits and they go on a journey. That's pretty much all the books are. Journey. Okay? Next. Did I say I gave that one 3 stars? I think so. Then I read Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. This is a part of is it called the Nightborn Duet? It is called the Nightborn Duet. This is the novella in between the first and the second book. This one, it's a Crowns of Nyaxia short novel. So like, basically in my head, I think this is how it is. The Crown of Nyaxia is like the whole overview But then under that, you've got like different duets. So she's got the Nightborn duet, and then she's got another duet. I don't remember what it's called. And then she's got another one that's coming out. But this one is a novella that's a part of that. But this one is like 1.5. So you read this in between Serpent and the Wings of the Night and the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Her names are crazy. But so I'm reading them in that order because I chronologically like to go through books. So this one is about Lilith and what's his name? Vale. So this is a very short story about Lilith, who is like a scientist person, and she was supposed to die like forever ago. Like she was basically born very sick, and she's somehow like surviving, but her dad like somehow put this like plague. He made a deal with a god that put a plague on all of her town. So her town is like slowly dying from this plague. It turns like the people into dust. Like the people like slowly just wither away, evaporate into the air essentially. Her sister's has the plague right now, and she's a scientist, so she's trying to get to the bottom of how she can get this plague cured, and it's been going on for like a really long time. So she decides to make a deal with the vampire that is living like right outside her town, and that's Vale. And you know, one thing leads to another. They get together, and then there is a crazy like twist at the end. You don't want to I'm not gonna spoil it, but it is a good novella. I'm not gonna lie. For a novella, I could read about them over and over again. I gave it 4 stars, but this might be a 5-star novella. I'm not even gonna lie, just because I remember so much of what happened in it, and like I said, I could literally read about them. I could read a whole book about them. Like, I wish I had a whole book about them. It's super, super nice. Like, I love it. Would definitely recommend reading it, though. I would not skip over this, because if you don't read this one before you read the other one, then you'll get spoiled a little bit, but not too much. It's not like that big a deal. Next, I finished A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. I was like, I think I started reading this in December, maybe not, but I was like slowly reading it whenever I had the chance. I've been like in a big mood of like reading like 7 books at once. So a lot of these books, I completed them, but like I've been reading them for a while. It's just crazy. This one is about, I done forgot what this was about. I remember. This I gave a 4 stars. This is a thriller that is about, basically it's about this girl, Theodora. They call her Theo. And she's engaged to Connor, and Connor is taking her to his family's estate, which is like, they're like very rich, very like wealthy people, and they have like 5 different houses on the estate, and like each of their kids gets to like stay in a house when they're there. So basically she's there meeting their family, and their family has a lot of like secrets, and they are very like closed off people. Like, they don't really let a lot of people in. When she first gets there, she starts getting like threatening messages, basically just telling her to like leave Connor alone, like she shouldn't be here, like it was a mistake for her to come. And she's just like, what is happening? But she's always been like a very curious person, and you're kind of like learning about like her life, because she was adopted, but also she doesn't speak to her parents anymore, but she like tells people her parents are dead, but it's a lie, just because she can't be with her parents. And there's a lot of foreshadowing, a lot of like, how do I tell them like, oh, my parents are actually dead, they just don't want to see me. But then you as the reader don't really know why that is until later on. But you're just following her, uncovering secrets about Connor's family and how she might be connected to his family and connected to that place. It is very interesting, the plot twists that come out, all the like twists and turns, very, very good. Keeps you on your toes. You get like I was reading it at my job, and I was alone there, and I was actually getting like freaked out. Like, I was like on the edge of my seat. So I think when a book can do that, it makes it really, really good. I do want to read some of her other books. She has another one, I think it's called The What Lies in the Woods. I think that was her first book, and this is my first read of hers, but I definitely will check the other ones out, because I really enjoyed it. I did read it pretty fast too. Then I read The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which is the second book in the Nightborn duet, and it is part of the Crown of Naxia novels. I gave this a 4.75, so very close to a 5. I think the only reason I didn't give it a 5, I just didn't get that 5-star feeling with it. Again, another thick, chunky book, okay? She big. Like, this series in general is big. Like, the other one is pretty big, too. This is... I don't really want to give too much away, because how the first book ends kind of, like, will give it away. So, if you want to read the series, but there's vampires, there's enemies to lovers, there's gods and goddesses, there's magic, there's wings. Guys with wings, to be specific. War. There's a lot that happens in this series, and it's very, very good. I would very, very recommend. Oh, and there's dual point of view. Don't you just love a good dual point of view? I would definitely recommend this series, and I want a lot of people to read them. People compared the first book. What did they compare the first book with? They compared the first book, I think, to like Hunger Games and ACOTAR a little bit. I think people just compare any book that has a trial in it, they compare it to Hunger Games. Like, bruh, they're not the only book that's done that, okay? But that's the topic that's a whole other conversation for another time. But yeah, the first book does have trials in it, which are really interesting and cool. I would definitely recommend it. You actually fly through the book. It seems massive, but it's really not that bad when you're actually getting through it. And I'm glad to finally have this like finished, because I read the first book a long time ago, and I definitely should have finished the series a long time ago as well. Now I can move on to the next duet, which I don't really remember what it's called, but I have the first book. I think it's like The Songbird and something. I'm trying to like finish series I'm in the middle of at the moment, and also like I said, read books that I have. So that's why there's a lot of like second books or third books in series, because I'm trying to finish them. Okay, we're almost done, guys. I'm getting there. Okay, next, I read Pretty Little Liars, which is, I actually like listened to this whole thing, but like I said, I'm trying to get through them. This one I gave a 3 stars. I almost wonder if it's like a 2.75, just because it's hard to rate these books. Like, I almost don't feel like I can rate them, because like I said, they were created so long ago. Like, they talk about some crazy stuff in here, and some stuff is like some things that the author writes, I'm like, that would not come out now. Like, it would not be approved. But in the time, you know, it is what it was. So it's like, I can't really judge the author for what it was at the time. But I'm liking it. It's super tiny. It's such an easy read. It's really nothing crazy. But I'm having a fun time reading it, just listening to them and seeing like how different or like the same they are to the TV show. I will say this book, literally the TV show followed it to a T. They literally did the same exact things that happened in this book. So it kind of is repetitive a little bit, but then after the second book, it changes a lot. Then we've got, oh shoot, I don't have a cover for this one. My grandma bought it for me secondhand, and so I don't have the cover. But this is the Red Scrolls of Magic, which is part of the Eldest Curses series. I think there's only like 2 books, but it's a part of like the whole Cassandra Clare, like, what's it called, universe. Yeah, this one I gave a 3 stars. This one follows Alec and Magnus Bane, and if you read the series, you know. But Magnus is a warlock, Alec is a shadow hunter, and this is about them going on a trip to get to know each other in Europe. And Magnus like wants it to be perfect for Alec, because he's trying to like open up, and Alec's trying to open up, and it's already like rocky just because they are a shadow hunter and a warlock, which are just like opposed, like people do not agree with the relationship in multiple ways. But you're following them through Europe, and then as most things happen, because they're shadow hunters and warlocks, they end up like saving some shadow hunters from demons. And then Tessa, that's an ode to the Clock Tower series. Is that what it's called? Infernal Devices series. Okay. The Infernal Devices series, Tessa shows up, and she like warns Magnus that there's a cult that's worshiping demons and summoning demons that is underneath his name. I can't remember what the cult is called, but basically he's like, I didn't do that. But then when he tries to go through his memories, he doesn't remember that time of his life, like someone took his memories from him. So him and Alec are like going around trying to find what happened and where the cult is and stop them and clear his name. So it's that's just what you're following. And then at the end, there's a crazy plot twist at the end. But I'm reading the books chronologically. So I've read the Infernal Devices series, the Last Hour series, the first 3 books in the... What series is that? Clockwork Angel series. And then it's this one, and then I think there's a couple more other books, like smaller ones, before I go back to the rest of the Clockwork Angel series. So I'm trying to get through them. It's a lot of books. There's like 20 books, I think. I have all of them, but it's kind of overwhelming, so I take breaks in between. But again, I'm trying to get through my series, so got that one done. Then this was our book club book for January, and that is The Return of the King, which is the last book in the Lord of the Rings series. And this one I gave a 2-star. Okay, I'm so happy this series is over. I'm so happy we're done reading it as a book club. I didn't even want to finish the series halfway through the first book, and I read the next other ones. Like, I did it for them. They know who they are, and they know that I love them, the fact that I did that. But I couldn't tell you what happens in this book. I'm gonna be honest, I listened to most of it, didn't care about most of it. And I feel bad because it's such a well-loved series, but I don't know if it's the writing or what. Like, I have fun in some moments and some characters' point of views. I just cannot get through it. Like, it just drags on for me. I'm glad to have it on my shelf and add it to my shelf, and that it's read and it's not a waste. But no. Next, then I read Flawless by Sarah Shepard, which is a part of the Pretty Little Liars series. This is number 2. I gave another 3 stars. Again, I might just put all these down to like 2 stars just because, like I said, are they really the same level as some other books that are 3 stars for me? No, but it's not a 2-star rating like I didn't enjoy the book. It's more just like because of the time. So I might actually end up doing that. I think I'm going to. But this one, again, you're just following the same through the first book. If you don't know what Pretty Little Liars is about, maybe I should give a synopsis. Basically, Pretty Little Liars follows 4 friends, well, technically 5 friends, but it starts with the 5 friends are all hanging out. There's Allie, Aria, Spencer, Emily, and Hannah, okay? Allie is like the main leader of the group, essentially, okay? She's like perfect, all that stuff. She knows all their secrets. She kind of controls them in a sense. And then like you've got Spencer, who's like really smart, Hannah, who is like overweight and very like insecure, Emily, who's like sportsy, and then Aria, who's like creative, kind of like out there, doesn't really care what other people think, okay? So you've got all of them together. They're all really good friends. They're hanging out in the barn, in Spencer's barn, and they're like, it's Labor Day, like the day before Labor Day. It's 7th grade, and then Allie was like hypnotizing them, and then her and Spencer, like something happens where they like go out of the barn, and then Spencer comes back and it's like, Allie's gone, okay? She disappeared. Then it fast forwards 3 years later. Aria's coming back from Iceland. She lived there for a year. Allie's still missing. Like, they have no clue what happened to her. And all of the friends have like kind of split up, and they're all kind of different. Like, none of them are really like together anymore. And there's like a big secret that they all like, called the Jenna thing, that they all like kept from police and all that stuff. And they kept like Allie's secret. Well, they end up starting getting messages from this person called A. That's all they end the message with is A, and it's a blocked ID. And the person is just like sending threats, essentially, like telling them, like, oh, I don't know. It's just like they're like sending messages that allude to the fact that they know secrets about the girls that only Allie knew. So then that's basically what it's about. They're trying to figure out who A is, and they're trying to figure out like what happened to Allie, and yeah, you're just following these 4 girls who are very just scandalous. That's all I gotta say. They're very scandalous. It's very dramatic. This one, the second book, starts actually like straying away from the TV show more than the first book. The first book was very like exactly like the TV show. So it was interesting to like have it be so different. So I am excited about that because I was worried like it would be very, very similar for like the first couple books and then it would get like kind of change up from there. Okay, and then the last book I read, and I just finished this yesterday, I think, is Half His Age by Jennette McCurdy. I really wanted to read this. For one, it's like brand new. For two, I wanted to let my husband know if like he would even be interested at all. He definitely would not be. This is kind of like a coming of age romance. It's not even really a romance. It's just really a coming of age story. But I gave it a 2 stars. And I'll tell you why, okay? Let me think what I want to say about this book. Basically, from my understanding, first off, the title, Half His Age. I mean, you kind of already understand like what's going to happen. But from my understanding, I thought it was going to be about a girl who is kind of like very traumatized, okay, has like some issues. So she gets an unhealthy obsession with her teacher. So I thought it was going to be like no reciprocation. It was just going to be she's obsessed with him in a sense, like an unhealthy obsession, but it's because she has her own issues, like problems. Like, you know how like she just, anyone who gives her like any little bit of like attention, she latches onto that, even if it's unhealthy or not and inappropriate or not. So I was not expecting him to reciprocate anything or there to be like full-on sex scenes between a 17-year-old and a grown man. It really like icked me out. I didn't really enjoy that. Now, I will say it's not romanticized in a sense. Like, it's definitely like she knows it's wrong, he knows it's wrong. Like, it's not like, oh, they like you want them to be like you don't even want them to be together and you know they shouldn't be together, but I just don't love that idea and reading about that. I will say her writing very, very enticing. You want to keep reading. I love the setting she lays out and how she can convey emotions in her writing. Like, I've read I'm Glad Your Mom Died, but that was like a memoir, so it's very different. But I do think her writing is very good. I would definitely read more books from her, just not if they're all gonna be this. I will say another thing too, I do think she put herself in this book a lot. There's just some like little hints that you can tell she was like taking a lot of inspiration from herself and her feelings, which is not a bad thing by any means. That's not why I'm saying it, but it is interesting to read because it's not a memoir, but it almost reads like one, just because of what you know about her. If you don't know anything, you're not gonna know, but I read I'm Glad Your Mom Died, so I kind of have more of an insight into her. And then I'll just read what I put on my Goodreads review. I said, honestly, the writing for this book was really enticing and made you want to keep reading, but I just can't get over the student-teacher relationship or even the major age gap. I do think it's not really romanticized, but I don't like age gaps, especially with someone under 18. And I stand by that. It's kind of what I said just before, but was it a good book? You know? So, am I glad to have read it? Kind of, just because my curiosity would get the best of me. But I will say I did not think it was going to be the way it was. That is all the books I read, which is a crazy amount, in my opinion. Like, for me, specifically with reading, but I have just been on a really big kick to read, especially like I've been in a big fantasy mood, but I've also just been like reading so many books at once. So I think that's been like helping. Then now I'm going to talk about the books that I'm in the middle of, and honestly we'll probably have most like finished, not by the end of this week, but like some of them will be. First off, that is, oh shoot, I just knocked all my books over. First off is Misery. This is our book club book for February, and we just started reading. I'm only 106 pages in. I'm on part 2, which is called Misery, and that is because we're only reading a meeting. So there's like, I think 4 parts total. So I'm really enjoying it so far. I'll give a little synopsis. Basically, you're following a author who was in a car crash, and this lady, Annie Wilkes, who picked him up from that car crash and is like nursing him back to health, but she obviously is like something wrong with her, and she didn't call the cops or nothing. And then she realized that he is her like favorite author, which he wrote these books called Misery, which is a whole series about this girl named Misery Castaigne, and obviously you can see where the title comes from. And so she's keeping him, and I don't even know why she decided to keep him, but she's got him addicted to this drug that's basically cocaine called Norville, and his legs are basically like gone, like there's no bone there, and she's very like has a lot of mood swings and stuff, so it's just you're following him trying to like navigate how not to make her mad, but also like how to survive and how he's gonna like get out of this situation, you know what I mean? So it's very suspenseful. I don't know, people have said some gruesome stuff happens, but it's not like crazy. I am like worried about that just because she's already like done some stuff that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can feel his pain. And now she's gonna force him to write a book called about misery. So I'm guessing that's what the next part's gonna be about. And it's really easy to read, really easy to get into. His writing is just so different from like anyone else that I've read. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it seems very sophisticated in a sense. So I'll have this done definitely by the end of February, just because of how our book club meets. But then next I am 75% through Perfect by Sarah Shepard, which is again part of the Pretty Little Liars series. I'm like solely listening to it. I like don't even read the actual book, but I'm probably gonna finish this by the end of the week for sure. And I'm enjoying it. Again, I'm just following them. Like, none of these books are going to be like none of the Pretty Little Liars series books I feel like are going to be like crazy books, but they're just entertaining reads. And I already told you the premise of the books. This is just keep going with it. This I'm going to have read by the end of the week, but this is Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in the Rose Hill series. As you can see, I'm like almost done with it. I don't know if you can see my bookmark, but there it is. I'm reading this with a like online book club, and the last meeting for this is this Friday. So we're going to finish this, and I'm super excited to finish it. I am really enjoying it. I don't know if I'm loving it as much as I really like the Chestnut Springs series, but Elsie Silver's writing is just very enticing, and her characters are very likable. So now my next one I'm reading is Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn tandem read. As you can see, all the tabs. This I'm reading for a video, so you'll get more of my like in-depth review about this, but I don't know if you can see my bookmarks, but that's how far I am through each book, and that's with like a couple days of reading. So it's taking me a while to get through it, but the tandem read is not that bad, and I'm glad I chose to do it that way just because of like the timeline and everything. So that's it for right now. I might pick up another book just because when I don't want to read the Empire of Storm and the Tower of Dawn books, but I also can't read for my book club, I might pick up something else to read in between. At the moment, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it'll be a like coming of age story, slice of life, a fantasy thriller. I don't know. But for right now, those are the books I'm reading, and those are the books I'm interested in. But that is all for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.